On a quiet street lined with winter-bare trees, there stands a house that people once passed without a second thought. A small, plain, beige house with a narrow porch and a rusted mailbox that leans slightly to the left. Today, that mailbox is part of the town's folklore. Because on a cold morning in February, 27 years after a couple vanished without a trace, a letter was found inside it. A letter that should not have existed. A letter written in a hand no one had seen in decades. This is the story behind that letter, and the truth it carried. In a modest Midwestern town, one of those places where everyone knows the sound of their neighbor's car door, there lived a couple who had been together since high school. They were ordinary on the surface. He worked maintenance at the local mill. She was a receptionist at a small dental clinic. They were the kind of pair people described with gentle phrases. They were quiet. They kept to themselves. You could tell they loved each other. Valentine's Day had always been their ritual. Nothing extravagant. Dinner at the only Italian restaurant in town. A walk by the river even when it was freezing. A handwritten note exchanged between them. Something they'd started as teenagers and never outgrew. But on Valentine's Day 27 years ago, they never showed up for dinner. Their reservations sat untouched. A waitress waited, then waited a little more, assuming maybe they were just running late. When they didn't appear at work the next day, the town grew uneasy. By the end of the week, police entered their home. Nothing was overturned, nothing broken, nothing missing, but something felt wrong. On the kitchen counter, 2 plates sat drying on a rack as if they'd eaten breakfast calmly that morning. Their coats still hung by the door. Her purse sat exactly where she always left it, on the entryway table next to the family calendar. And in the pocket of his coat, officers found something small and strange. A folded sheet of paper with no writing on it. Just folded, once, carefully, almost as if it were waiting. Investigators never figured out what it meant. Days passed, then weeks, then years. No car abandoned anywhere. No signs of struggle. No secret bank withdrawals. No goodbyes left behind. It was as if the couple stepped out into the cold February air and dissolved into it. The town held on to theories, runaways, foul play, a tragic accident somewhere nobody thought to search. But there was never a shred of real evidence. Eventually the house was sold, the porch repainted, the windows replaced. Life moved on. Officially, the case went cold. Unofficially, nobody ever really let it go. The letter arrived nearly 3 decades later, addressed to the couple's old names. The current owner of the house, a middle-aged teacher who had moved in with his teenage daughter, almost tossed it into the recycling bin. No stamp, no return address, just a handwritten note. To the ones who lived here, curiosity held him back. He opened the envelope and found a single sheet of paper, aged, yellowing at the edges. Paper folded once, carefully, the same way the last mysterious paper had been folded 27 years before. But this one wasn't blank. Contained a date, place, a short message, and a signature. A signature the police recognized immediately. It belonged to the woman who had disappeared. The letter read, "We wanted you to know the truth. If anyone still wonders what happened, meet us where it began. February 14th, at dusk." Below it, a location was written. A scenic overlook 30 miles outside town. The same overview where the couple had gone for their very first Valentine's Day. For the first time in decades, the cold case unit reopened the file. A detective who had once been a young officer on the original search asked to be reassigned to the investigation. He remembered the couple, remembered the fear in the community, remembered the folded blank paper in the man's coat, the new fold, the handwriting, the timing. Everything felt impossible. The couple would have been in their 50s by now. They had no known enemies, no debts, no secret lives. Nothing that would have required them to vanish for nearly 30 years. But handwriting analysts confirmed it. The letter matched the woman's exact script. No signs of forgery. Someone had written it slowly, deliberately. Someone who knew the curves and hesitations of her hand intimately. The detective pressed the edges of the paper under a lamp. The ink was old, older than it should have been if the letter had been written recently. How did a decades-old letter appear in a mailbox? Where had it been? Why now? The detective knew the only way to find answers was to show up at the Overlook on Valentine's Day, exactly as the letter instructed. But first, he had to understand what the couple's life had truly been like before they vanished. He visited the woman's sister, now elderly, who lived alone in a quiet part of the town. She hesitated before speaking, as if releasing memories she had sealed away. "They always acted fine," she said. "But that last year, I could see the exhaustion in her eyes." She never said it directly, but she was afraid of something. Or someone. "Who?" the detective asked. She shook her head. "She never told me. Sometimes families hide things from each other, not out of distrust, but out of love." The detective pressed on. "Did she ever mention leaving?" "Only once," the sister whispered. "A few months before they disappeared," she said. "If something ever happens, promise me you won't look for us." Some stories have safer endings if no one tries to finish them. The detective felt a chill. He had heard similar words before, from victims in witness protection, from people running from dangerous debts, from families escaping domestic violence. But nothing in their background matched any of those patterns. As he left the sister's home, he felt the weight of something unspoken, something the couple had tried to protect others from, something that might still be out there. The detective reached the Overlook an hour before dusk. Snow crunched under his boots. The wind was sharp enough to sting. Behind him, 2 patrol cars idled quietly, their lights off, their engines warm. He walked toward the wooden railing overlooking the frozen valley below. It looked exactly as it had decades ago, unchanged by time, untouched by the stories built around it. Then he saw them, not the couple, but 2 wooden carvings nailed to the railing, a heart, and beneath it, a small inscription carved by teenage hands. "Forever starts here." He remembered it from old photographs. They had carved it on their first Valentine's Day together. Had someone else carved this one recently? He wasn't sure. At 5 minutes to dusk, something caught his eye. A figure walking slowly through the snow toward the clearing. An older man, wrapped in a heavy coat, steps uneven, breath visible in the frigid air. The detective approached carefully, hand near his radio. "Sir, are you all right?" The man didn't answer. He only lowered his hood. The detective studied his face. Weathered, worn. A man who had lived several lifetimes in the course of one. "Are you him?" the detective asked softly. The man gave a faint, tired smile. "I suppose once I was." The detective's breath trembled. After 27 years, one of them had returned. The man sat on a rock near the railing and looked at the valley for a long time before speaking. "It wasn't safe for us," he began. "Not back then. Not after what we saw." He paused, as if deciding whether the world deserved the truth. He explained that on the night before their disappearance, they had witnessed an incident, something criminal, something involving individuals far more dangerous than anyone in town realized. They had been walking home when they saw a man being beaten behind a warehouse. When they tried to leave quietly, the attackers spotted them. "They knew our names," he whispered. "They knew where we lived." Fear crept into the couple's life instantly. A day later, they received a message on their doorstep. One sentence: "Leave tonight. If you call the police, you will not wake to see morning." He swallowed hard. We believed them. With the help of someone the woman knew, someone she had trusted years before, they disappeared. New identities, new town, new life, but a life lived in the shadows. A life where every knock on the door carried the weight of dread. A life where love was their only anchor. "We never wanted to leave," he said. "We loved this place. We loved everyone here. But staying meant dying. Leaving meant living. But only barely." The detective listened in silence. "Why come back now?" he finally asked. The man's eyes glistened. "My wife. She passed away last year," he said. "Illness. Something peaceful. Something ordinary. For once." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small envelope. the original letter. She wrote this before she died. She made me promise to deliver it on this exact date, to our old home. She wanted everyone to stop wondering. She said her story began here. It deserved to end here too. He handed the letter to the detective. The paper inside was blank, just folded once carefully. A symbol, the same symbol she had left for him decades ago. Her way of saying, "It's time. She wanted to come back with me," the man continued, "but she didn't make it, so I came alone. One last Valentine's Day. One last goodbye." The detective felt an ache deep in his chest. "Did anyone help you hide all these years?" The man nodded, but he didn't say who. "Some secrets," he said, "were better left buried. Some names better kept safe. Some loyalties better protected until death." The detective understood. He knew that justice sometimes wasn't found in arrests or courtrooms. Sometimes justice meant survival, healing, endings spoken softly in the snow. As the sun slipped behind the horizon, the man rose slowly. "I'm staying nearby for a while," he said. "If you need me, if the truth matters more than the past." The detective watched him walk away. Each step a quiet goodbye to a life stolen from him. Each breath a reminder that love had carried them farther than fear ever could. The detective released a public statement weeks later. Not the full truth. Some details were too dangerous, too complicated, too intertwined with people who had since disappeared themselves. But he said enough. He told the town that the couple hadn't abandoned them. They had been forced to choose safety over presence, life over memory, silence over danger, and they had chosen it together. The house at the end of the street, once a symbol of a mystery, became something different. Not a haunted reminder of loss, but a testament to love, endurance, and the lengths people will go to protect each other. The folded paper became legend. Children learned about it. Newspapers wrote about it. And every Valentine's Day, someone placed flowers at the scenic overlook. Not because the couple had died there, but because their love had lived there. Their story, clouded by fear, shaped by sacrifice, redeemed by time, became a quiet reminder that some people disappear not because they want to leave, but because they want to protect the ones they love. And sometimes, the greatest love stories are the ones the world never sees. Hidden between two people who choose each other against impossible odds. The letter in the mailbox, the signature, the folded paper, it wasn't a mystery after all. It was a message, a reminder, a final Valentine. Forever starts here.